The environmental climate is changing. Not only is there global warming, but there is a climate of greater awareness of man's impact on the environment. Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth brought many people to the uncomfortable place of acknowledging the need to be more responsible individually towards our environment, of reducing pollution and not wasting resources. Bergvliet High Recycling was initially established 18 years ago by a couple of teacher environmentalists to educate the school population about the importance of recycling. It has grown into a massive operation, saving huge volumes of household waste from being dumped wastefully in landfill sites. And consistently it brings in over 100,000 rand an annum. The sustained success of Bergvliet High Recycling is solely due to the dedication, energy and enthusiasm of Willie Webb, the doyen of recycling in the Western Cape. She has been assisted over the years by co-leaders like Amanda and Jenny, and a relatively small group of parents, now mostly past parents by many years, who loyally return week after week to sort material. Higher prices are paid for sorted material, which is why at Bergvliet High Recycling you see so much activity sorting material rather than just dumping all categories of paper in the igloo. We encourage each household and company to take responsibility for collecting and separating the waste that they generate in their daily living.
Since I've been involved, it's surely to make some money for Bergvliet High School. I know we've got a teacher involved, which is Lesley Watson, and she is the environmentalist. But when I started here, my big aim was to make money for the Bergvliet High School, to do something, to buy something for the children. We collect paper, which falls under high grade, falls under that paper, common mix, newspapers, magazines, and then we go over to cans, glass and plastic. Plastic is divided in 3 categories. It's the PET plastic, number 2 plastic, of which milk bottles is part of that, and plastic bags.
This one also PET. Yeah. Okay. So we could do it. If it's got a white line, then you know it's no good.
At the end of the day, when the bags are all full and there's truckloads, enough truckloads, the trucks will come and collect it, and then it goes to the factories where it goes. George comes along and collects all the paper, and he encourages us to make more than 5 tons. He every week asks us about more than 5 tons. And when the telephone directories were collected, we actually made 6.4 tons.
It's a very simple process. All we really do is collect paper, bale it, I beg your pardon, sort it, bale it, and dispatch it to our various paper mills all over South Africa. We outsourced all of our collection services. We took 7 of our drivers and sold the vehicles to them. They created their own businesses. We now pay them for what they do, in other words, a rate per ton. Very successful. All the drivers certainly have been empowered by this initiative. We've now recently, just 3 months ago, empowered our factory. All our ex-factory workers were retrenched, and they now have their own company. And once again, we, on the same basis, we're paying them for what they do. Everything that gets baled gets calculated, and they get paid for basically at a rate per ton. And there's basically 4 main categories. It's kraft, which is your brown papers, your brown corrugated board, which is used to manufacture board again. About 37% of new cardboard contains 37% of new cardboard is recycled fiber. Then your 2 main other grades is newspaper and magazines, which is utilized to remanufacture newspaper. And your other grade is HL1, which is your office white paper, and that has 2 main usages, and that's the manufacture of tissue paper, which is your toilet paper and tissues, and also your white liner board on your Kellogg's box and so on, in your shoe box. It's got a white line. That's white paper is utilized for that as well. It's a common mix. It's used as a filler. So in other words, if you tear your Kellogg's box open, you get the grey board inside. That's your common mixed waste.
We are now at a recycling plant that collects baled cardboard from various sources, like supermarkets and shopping centres, and they recycle it into brown card, which makes new cardboard boxes. Here we see bales of cardboard stacked high, awaiting recycling. Every 15 minutes, 6 or 7 of these huge bales are moved into the pulping section of this plant. The cardboard is agitated in water, and various waste products like coarse and fine plastic and sand is removed. Pulp is thickened into a consistency of about 25% fiber, which forms noodles. Here we see storage bays containing surplus noodles awaiting processing. The noodles are sent to the filler slusher machine, and here water is added to a consistency of only 1% fiber, so it is diluted and cleaned of extra sand and fine plastic that wasn't removed before. In these 3 transparent tubes, you can see this very thin mixture going through, which has to be thickened back by adding fiber and removing water to about 5% consistency. The forming section involves pulp from 5 vats being sprayed onto a belt. Water is sucked out by vacuum, leaving 5 layers of pulp in a sheet. The 5 layers of pulp form a sheet which then moves independently into the press section. Here the sheet is trimmed and has to go to the drying section, involving 37 rollers in a series of steam drying. On the rope reel, a scanner moves across continually to test the quality of the paper that is being formed. The paper now is rolled into these jumbo rolls, weighing up to 7 tons. They are enormous. Econo Recycling collects bales of PET bottles from all around the Southern Cape, from as far afield as the Karoo, Port Elizabeth and Beaufort West. The PET bottles are hand sorted into their different colours. The tops have to be removed from the PET bottles as they are made from a different type of plastic. The bottles are then shredded and washed to remove paper and sand which could damage the machinery. The plastic is melted and formed into pellets, which are sold to other recycling companies for manufacture into new products.
It's shredded plastic. It is in small shredded form after it's washed. It is then sold off to converters that do make various kinds of products as geofabrics for weatherproofing. Lads at home knows, between the roof and the gable for weatherproofing. It is used in dam walls, in dams, in filtration systems, and roadworks, in civil engineering works, for soil erosion. And then we have a newer product now, which has just surfaced now, a lovely product, isotherm, for insulation, roof insulation. Much better and user-friendly than your fiberglass, which is real bad at the time. These ones are so nice. The little ones can sleep on top of it. It's also made of PET.
What do you see as the benefits of recycling? What would your message be to the younger generation?
The younger generation is to look after the environment and to teach the youngsters. Though we've got lots and lots of projects with schools, environmental awareness projects with schools, and it's there where we can start from the younger people, you know, taking it from the table, putting it back into a reusable example of something that can be used, then filling it up in the landfill. The polyethylene or plastic would take about 300 years to debiodegrade. So to look after the environment and then not to take up the mineral resources that is available to us, and reuse from cradle to grave all the time. And from our youngsters is to motivate our young people to be aware of our planet and to use the resources scarce, you know, effectively.
Members of the community are encouraged to give an hour or two a week to help at recycling. We're only limited by the lack of helping hands, and we encourage those retired people or folk who are not working to become part of the solution, become part of Bergvliet High Recycling. It's the in thing to do.